guys, and welcome to my channel. So today I am going to show you guys how to make the mini mallards. This is going to be a tutorial in my series where I teach you guys how to make my most popular minis that I sell at crochet markets. And the first episode is going to be how we make these cute little mallard ducks. Now, obviously, we have some differences between these two versions. So in this dark green version, I used some 10mm eyes, and I used the dark green, whereas I used a mint green and some 12mm eyes on this other one. So depends on which one you personally like. I personally like the darker green one, but people buy these both, so I would recommend making them both. So let's get into the materials. So first thing you're going to need is some yarn in some various different colors for the mallard duck. You're going to need a green color. I'm going to be using Primer Just Chenille in the color Mint. This is the same Primer Just Chenille. This is the color Cacao. Same thing, except this is the color White. And for the yellow, this is Juicy Just Couture in the color Mustard. So just use the colors you have and you want to use, and make sure that you choose an appropriate crochet hook. Speaking of crochet hook, you're going to need a crochet hook. I'm using and this is actually a crochet hook I got from Dollar Tree, and it's really good. I really recommend it. For stitch markers, I'm just using a black bobby pin. You're going to need some stuffing, but not too much, just a little bit. You're going to need some 10mm safety eyes. I do not recommend using 12mm safety eyes. It just makes your life unnecessarily complicated. Unless you want this like really big eyed look, then go ahead and use those. It might vary where you place your little wings though, so keep that in mind as you progress with the pattern. And you're going to need a pair of scissors lastly to cut your yarn. But other than that, that's all the materials you're going to need. So let's go ahead and get right into the video. Starting off with your green yarn, you're going to go ahead and just get some slack on it. If you don't like to work with slack, then don't do that, but I like to work with slack. We're going to go ahead and start off with a chain. Well, first we're going to do a slip knot, of course, and put our crochet hook in it. But we are going to use the chain 2 method and not the magic ring method because we're working with fluffy yarn. If you're working with regular yarn, you know, you can do the magic ring method, but I don't really think it makes too much of a difference. So we're going to go ahead and chain 2. Now into this first little stitch right here where that little hole is, we're going to go ahead and place 5 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Now we're just going to grab that tail and we're going to go ahead and pull it closed. And that went ahead and tightened it up beautifully. You're going to get your stitch marker ready because we're going to use it in this second round. So for that first round, we obviously have 5 single crochet. This next round, we are going to place an increase in every single stitch. So that takes us from 5 to 10. In our first single crochet, we're just going to mark that. Either you could just mark the first stitch or the last stitch. I like to mark the first stitch. So we're just going to go ahead and do an increase, which is 2 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. Make sure you have 10 stitches after this round. You don't want to have any more or any less. I have 10, so we can keep going. For this next round, which is round 3, we're going to go ahead and do our last increase round, which we're going to do 1 single crochet and 1 increase all the way around. So this is our first single crochet, then we're going to do an increase to the next stitch. This was our first stitch, this is our second stitch. Increase. This is going to take us from 10 stitches to 15 stitches. So that was 1 increase, 1, increase, just go ahead and make sure that you have 15 stitches around. Alright, for these next 2 rows, which is row 4 and 5, we are just going to do 15 single crochet all the way around. I'm going to meet you guys back here after you do your 2 rows of 15 single crochet. So I just finished up my 2 rows of single crochet, and now we're going to go ahead, take a break, and add my eyes. So I just wanted to come in and show you guys how I add my eyes. So depending on where you place your eyes, it's going to determine where you place everything else in this pattern. I like to go ahead and place my eyes. I draw an imaginary line from where the stitch marker is all the way to the other side of the head. And I like to place my eyes somewhere over there. And like I said, I am using 10mm eyes, and I recommend that you use some 10mm eyes. We're just placing them in between those 2 single crochet rows that we just did. We're going to make sure that we have 1, 2 stitches apart between these eyes. So make sure there is 1, 2 stitches apart. So now I'm going to show you guys how to add the beak. You're going to take your crochet hook out and you're just going to leave a little loop. You're going to grab your yellow and you're going to cut a pretty short little length of your little yellow / orange, I don't know, and place my hook in between one of those stitches, grab the yarn, and go ahead and pull it through to the other side. We're going to repeat that on the other side. Just take our hook through, pick up the yarn, and bring it to the other side. Now we are going to adjust Now that we have our backings in, we're just going to go ahead and keep going. This is going to be our last row in green. We're going to switch to white after this row, and we're going to start decreasing. So the repeat for this round is going to be 1 single crochet decrease all the way around. Got our 1 single crochet. We're going to do a decrease. End of this round, you should have 10 stitches. So go ahead and count. Just make sure that you have those 10 stitches. Now that you've counted, we're going to go ahead and continue to the next decrease round. But first, we're going to change colors. Grab our white. Go ahead and finish off that stitch with the white. And that's how I do my color changes. So now we are going to do 1 single crochet decrease again. There was a single crochet. This is a little unconventional for crochet, but this is just how I wrote up the pattern and it works. So just bear with me. there's our single crochet. Here's the decrease. That was 1 repeat. Here's a single crochet. Here's a decrease. That was 2 repeats. Here's a single crochet. Here's a decrease. That was our 3 repeats that we needed to do for this round. We're just going to finish off with a single crochet, but we're not going to pull through. We are going to switch to our brown yarn now. We're going to go ahead and switch with it. The same way that we switch colors with that green, we're just going to finish off the stitch by pulling through with the brown. Just like that. Now it's at this point that I am going to go back, cut off our green, and go ahead and tie it together with our beginning white strand. Alright, now we're going to work our increase round. So starting off with two increases. That was 1 increase. This is 2 increase. Next, we're going to go ahead and do 1 single crochet. We're just going to do 1 single crochet. Now that we did 1 single crochet, we're going to go ahead and chain up 2. 1, 2. Now, skipping the first stitch next to our hook, we're going to go into the second stitch from our hook. We're going to go ahead and place 1 single crochet. Perfect. Now we're going to go back into that same stitch that we placed that single crochet, and we're going to finish it off by placing another single crochet. This actually is an increase, and that's how we're going to do our wing on the side, the same thing on the other side. But we're going to have to get around over there, so we're going to actually do 1 increase, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet, and we're going to do the same wing that we did on that side on this side. So we're going to go ahead and chain up 2. So 1, 2. Next, we're going to go into that second hook, chain from our hook, and we're going to do a single crochet. Next, we're going to finish the increase by doing another single crochet into the same stitch. Next, we're going to finish it off by doing the remaining 2 increases. You should have 14 stitches at the end of this round. It's now that I like to go ahead and just look at our face so far and make sure it looks alright. It's also about right now when I like to start stuffing our head. So just grabbing some stuffing and going ahead and alright, now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and cut off our white. Alright. Now we're going to be working 1 row of single crochet. Now we had 14 stitches in that last round, so we're going to have 14 stitches in this round as well. I'll see you guys when you get back. we're gonna go ahead and work our bobble stitches in this next row. So we're gonna go ahead and single crochet until we're aligned with where we need to put our bubble stitch. So for me, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 single crochets, and we are going to be doing our bubble stitch almost directly in line with our eye. So just a little bit off to the side of our eye, and just a little off to the side of our wing. So this is our wing, just to the left of our wing. Now I'm going to show you guys how I work my bobble stitch. So first you're going to grab your yellow. I'm going to go ahead and just put it over your hook. Now you're going to insert your hook into the stitch we need to make our bubble stitch. We're going to pull up a loop. Next you're going to go through both. Next you're going to repeat that. You're going to only pull through the first 2. And you're going to do that one more time so that you have 3 on your hook. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Now you're going to switch to your brown, and you're going to finish off by going through all of the loops. So now you're going to go ahead and do 2 single crochets, or however many you need to do until you get to your other side. But if you follow the pattern correctly, it should just be 2 single crochets to get to the other side, right next to the wing. You're going to switch back to your yellow yarn. You're going to do the same bobble stitch. You're going to go through 2, go through 2, and go through 2. Now you have 3 loops on your hook of yellow and 1 loop on your hook of brown. You're going to go ahead and go through all of them with your brown. Now you're just going to finish off by doing your remaining stitches in the brown. Alright, now we're going to move on to our last round. So for our last round, we are just going to do 7 decreases in all of the previous stitches. And then we're going to fasten off and close up the hole. So just work your 7 decreases, and remember to stop and stuff while, like right here for example, I'm going to just go ahead and stuff. Alright, that looks like enough stuffing for me. Here's our little guy, he's looking cute. Let's keep going. Perfect, now we're done. We did decreases all the way around. Now we're just gonna go ahead and do a slip stitch and cut off a piece of yarn, stretch of yarn. Now I'm going to show you guys how to do this without needing a sewing needle, but if you want to use a sewing needle, you go ahead and sew this up like you would normally do anything else. But this method I'm about to teach you works for any crochet project. It doesn't just have to be, this particular project. So just keep that in mind. So, how I do this is I take my hook and I go ahead and put it through the back loop only. Then I pull the yarn tail through all the way and I tug. And I repeat that all the way around. And now I'm going to show you how to hide this little tail. So we're going to flip our body randomly. We're going to find a stitch randomly, and we're going to go ahead and put it all the way through till we get to the other side. We're going to grab the yarn and we're going to slowly pull it through. We do not want to pull up any stuffing when we go through. So just bear that in mind. Now I just sort of pulled that in. And the last thing that I do just to secure it is I stuff the tail all the way into the body. There we go. Now we're just gonna kind of arrange him a little better because he's looking a little, his beak's looking a little odd. We're just gonna arrange him a little better. So here he is. I think he's super cute. Here is the darker version. I think they're both so cute. This is with the 10mm eyes. If you wanted to use the 12mm eyes, you get this very exploded looking thing, but if you like the exploded looking thing, you do that. That's it for this tutorial. Bye-bye.